Hey everyone, this is Mike Dunn, and you're listening to Rethinking EDU. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm super pumped to be here, and I'll tell you what, we've done 47 episodes of podcasting previous to this one. You're on episode number 48, listening to my conversation with Dr. Courtney Russell, who I, casually call Doc. Doc is actually sitting at a table across from me right now, and what's amazing about this is our first conversation we've done in person.
Yeah.
And so it's wild to think, we started this Rethinking EDU podcast in the pandemic. It's only been sort of a quote-unquote pandemic podcast, right? And we've never had the chance to interview any of our guests in person. Even us co-hosts have never done a podcast episode in person. But today, we are coming from lovely Estes Park, Colorado, right? Yeah. Where we just got boatloads of snow in the last 24 hours. We are sitting across an old oak table from one another. And Doc and I are going to have a real conversation about real things that schools are facing. And I'm so pumped you're here, Doc. Thanks.
Yeah, I feel truly blessed. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Doc, before we get into this, let's just talk about how we know each other. So we work here at Eagle Rock, right?
Yeah.
And what's your role here?
I am Residential Life Program Coordinator and Aspen House Parent.
Okay. Aspen, that's not a very good house, is it?
Come on, Mike. What you trying to do right now? I like you, Mike. I like you. Come on now.
Okay. So you got to know, listeners, if you're listening to this podcast, that Eagle Rock has a little thing. It's 6 houses on campus. The houses in no particular order go Aspen, Ponderosa, Juniper, Pinyon, Lodgepole, and Spruce, right?
But you said the first one is the best one, which is number one. I like that.
By geographic location on campus. And you should know that I'm the Juniper house parent along with my partner Caitlin and our dog Kelly. And Doc here is the Aspen house parent along with his dog Jet.
Yes.
And key member of the crew. And we have a nice relationship. Actually, we are what are called mountain team house members.
Yeah.
And so our house teams come together and play sports together, do other things together as a member of the Bone Pipe Mountain. Mm-hmm. And so I make fun of Aspen is not the best house, but we, it's close love.
Yeah, we cousins.
Yeah,
we cousins.
Yeah. Big family cousins.
Exactly.
Like, that's my cousin. Oh, that's my cousin too. Yeah. Listen, Doc, you're from Atlanta, Georgia, but you didn't grow up there. You grew up a couple different places, but you spent most of your time in Atlanta. Yeah. And you are living in this small town in the middle of Colorado. Mm-hmm. How did you end up from Atlanta, big city in the South, to Estes Park, small town, northern Colorado?
When I first started coming up here, I was in a relationship, and the person I was with, she got a job in Estes at the Stanley Hotel, and we were trying to do a long distance thing, and one thing led to another, and I was coming out here every month for a week, and so being one of the few black faces in Estes Park, when I sat in Starbucks for 8 hours a day, just reading books, and I'm having a whole table with a myriad of coffee cups and books on equity and politics and healthcare. The buzz started. People still wanted to stop. Like, what are you doing here? And why are you sitting here for 8 hours?
Yeah.
And one thing led to another, and it just so happened that one of the workers of Eagle Rock started talking to me, and she asked me to come up here and speak, and the rest is history.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, so I guess part of that story too, though, is I call you Doc. Your full name, just for the podcast record, and those of all you out there listening want to Google him, Courtney Russell Jr., MD, not to be confused with PhD and EDD and all the other DDDs, whatever we have on this podcast. Yeah. MD is a unique kind of addition to one's name to be working out in a school.
Yes.
Like, you hardly ever see medical doctors in schools. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about, you went to medical school to get an MD. We'll get to how you end up in education later, but talk to us about that path. Like, how did you end up in medical school?
Everything about my life has been non-traditional.
Right.
And so it's been a journey. When I was younger, growing up, we grew up in poverty, coming from parents who were immigrants. We just had to figure it out, and they had to work, and so they did the best they could. But the streets also played a huge role in raising my sister and I. And so I loved the grind. I loved the ignorance. I love the never knowing what's going to happen. But I always felt like, what's going on over there? Meaning, like, I'm in poverty, but what's across town, people are smiling, people are happy, people are not hungry, people are not starving. And so I always felt as though I wanted to see what that was about.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what did that mean for you in school? Like, school clearly was a way for you to move out of so much.
I loved school, but it's not cool where we come from to be reading books and like science and math, and so I had to dumb myself down at times to just make it in my community, know, and so it got tiring. It's like I can't embrace me. I'm sitting, I'm outside on the street corner, but I'm reading The Alchemist. It's like it's always a duality in my life. Like, I love math and science, but I'm in a strip club, or I'm disrespectful to a woman, or I know that it's right to I like not to do what I'm doing. Yeah. However, I'm helping someone with groceries. It's always me trying to justify the bullshit I'm doing. And so we're gonna get to like med school, but I always knew that this wasn't it.
But I'd imagine, I don't know that situation. I'm not you, obviously, and I'd imagine though that situation was hard to move out of. And still, yeah. And so, what were those things that you felt like were really those mechanisms that were keeping you there?
Fear of success, like not knowing what that looks like. I can navigate poverty. I know how it is to be broke. I know how it is to hustle. Yeah. But I don't know how it is to thrive. I don't know how it is to not worry. Like, to have hope for tomorrow. And that is what education gives you. It's bigger than reading a book. It's like education always allows you to think about tomorrow. And so if you're living in poverty, there's no thinking about tomorrow. But if you're poor, but you're educated, you're always hopeful. Because education is that X factor. Like, I can't eat now, but if I graduate, I'll be able to get a job which support my family. Yeah. But if you're living in poverty, you could have a lot of money, but it's like, I can die, I can go to jail, I gotta do what I gotta do right now. And just live, whatever that may look like. And so that's what is the mantra and the code. We living for right now.
Yeah. And how did your family play a role in that?
Education was always the most important thing. And so they sacrificed everything to make sure my sister and I were educated. And so in the house, and I think that is what saved my life. Just hearing, your last name, you gotta know. Come on, Courtney. Come on, Courtney. You can do it. Yeah. Like, you're smart. You're this and that. And so no matter what my mother and father had to do, education was always like our ticket out. And so like when we got good grades, it was a party. When you graduate, every step of the way is big. Yeah. And so you graduate high school is big. And then for me, going to med school, like, that was like, I went to the NBA. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what? Yeah. Because they didn't even think I was going to do that, because no one knew. Like, I was the funny kid. I like to crack jokes, but I didn't like school. And so I would
You
get.
didn't like to go to school.
I didn't like to go to school.
Right.
And
You
I
like to learn.
I like to learn.
Yeah.
What I like to learn about.
Right. Okay.
I would be the kid to get A's and B's
Uh-huh.
in science, but fail like PE or fail math. You know what I mean? So it was always like, Courtney, what's wrong with you?
Huh.
Like, you can do this. All right. And so it was always a battle for me to find a why until medicine.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So like when my mom, like, she pushed me into medicine, and I never forget it.
Yeah.
Like I got kicked out for failing grades in undergrad, but I had enough of the prerequisites to get into this med program.
Okay.
And so I was like, "Why don't you try that?" I'm like, "Mom, I don't want to be a doctor."
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
what? Why?
Yeah.
And so, but when I went into it, it was amazing. I never, like, childbirth and like just knowing just thinking about life in a different way, understanding why people walk upright and how hair grows and the heartbeat and breath, those things were giving me a different type of high, and so it's really intriguing. And so medicine, I caught on like a kid would catch on to like a language really quick, like a sponge. It's just the politics I always had a problem with. I didn't know how to play well with others.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that was the difficulties for me in medical school. Like, making friends. Because everybody was so different. You had me, and then you had Harvard, Yale, Princeton, clean cut, black, white, green, and yellow. No one was like me.
Yeah.
I see a black kid, like, what up, man? Don't talk to me. I'm like,
Interesting.
shit.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I saw no one that looks like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you graduate from secondary school, go to college, not super successful right away in college, and then this kind of light flickers here when it comes to medicine.
Yeah.
And what you illuminate a little bit, but like what really drew you in there? Like, what was
my competitive nature? When someone said, "You don't look like a doctor," I said, "Ooh." Like, I was so upset. Because at first I was like, no. My mom was like, "Tell me, why don't you do it?" No. When someone said, "Man, you don't look like a doctor. You couldn't do it no way."
Yeah.
What?
And so that was one step.
That was like,
so like
it was never I wanted to help people at
your
first.
drive.
Yeah, it wasn't like, I love people. Nah, I didn't.
So you liked the science.
Yeah.
And then you also were like, let me show you.
Yeah, and then, so then I was in there, and I was like, I don't know if I want to be a doctor. I love EMT.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I volunteered in Atlanta on EMT, and I got it. And I was like, we jumping out in the community where I'm from. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm in the hoods where I used to navigate, but I'm helping people now. And then I was like, we get back to the hospital, and I see a white coat, and he's like, no, yelling. I'm like, that dude got power.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I was like, what does he do?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, he's a doctor. Nah, I don't. I can't be the EMT. I can't be the nurse. I want to be the white coat.
Okay.
And that was it. And so I got more intrigued into it.
Yeah.
And then I said, all right, Ma, I'll try it out.
Do you think that that's a natural prerequisite for doctors?
Yes.
To be competitive in that way?
100%.
Why is that the case, do you think?
How close are you to God? Like, there's certain decisions that you have to make that a lot of people don't want to make. It's life and death.
Yeah.
And you gotta stand tall in bad decisions at times. So if you're like, like, who? If your mother came in to see me, you don't want me to guess. Well, Mike, do you think that I should do this? You didn't go to med school.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what are you talking? I don't know. Save my mom's life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She comes in and she's,
especially as like a trauma surgeon or something like that.
You got to make decisions spot on.
Yeah.
And so I love that, and like, when someone passes, it hurts.
Yeah.
But it's like, once you did your best, it's like, well, next.
Yeah.
And it seems cold-blooded and heartless, but you wouldn't want it any other way.
Right.
I mean, even with internal medicine, those kind of doctors are more like, empathetic and they talk to you, but they sometimes also have to be like, all right, I'm the doctor, I have to choose this, because there's certain times we have to intubate and this and that. You got to know when to do it, how to do it. You got to make this certain decisions that there's no time to second guess. And so like that same personality trait that people hate in doctors, that God complex, even if you're a nice doctor, you still have to have a little bit of that.
Interesting. So how, in medical school, was there another similar moment that you had where you said, I like this work, I like the working with patients, I like the working in hospital, like whatever, but this isn't for me?
Man, as we were preparing for residency, everyone was just so excited, and I'm like, this comes with the fear of success. Like people this is their second career. You had engineers there, you had people, and this is like my first shit. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I really don't like. It's cool, and so I don't like doing things that I'm not crucially passionate about.
Sure.
Because it feels like I'm gonna do a real horrible job, and that's my ego and shit, and I don't want to look bad, because I feel like I'm doing it for culture, and so my community needs me to always be like, when my name is there, if you see me on a pamphlet or something I'm speak, you're like, yo, he about to do
this
something.
The guy.
That's the dude,
That's the guy.
And I didn't know if I wanted to, because I was always getting in trouble with patient care. Like my patients would love me, but my colleagues were like, why are you taking so long? Why are you ordering this test? Why are you like spending so much time in a room? And I'm like, because like how, like I can get the diagnosis, but I want to know the person, because I feel like that'll go further with patient compliance and patient care versus me coming in, all right, cool, you got high blood pressure, take these drugs, get out of here.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know about social activism back there. I just knew that my people, and I just thought it was black people, but I felt like my people needed some explanations as to why they got to take these pills.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was like, what? Like, I can't just go in there and shove these pills down. Like, I'm selling dope.
Yeah. Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I feel like ain't no difference.
Yeah.
And so like I used to get in trouble, and I said, this may not be for me. And at the time I was speaking in homeless shelters and churches and things, and that was like, I felt good. That felt like home. The insanity of the subculture of homelessness really excited me. It was like, oh shit, like it was tingling me. And I wasn't getting paid.
Yeah.
It was like, I felt like I was playing ball.
Interesting.
It was like my gym. Like I would walk in there, they're like, Doc, what's going on? Let's get to work. So they would bring in all their pills that they got, and I'm like, this is for blood pressure. You got kidney disease. Tell me about this. You just had a yeast infection. Ma'am, tell me about this. Oh, you're a sex worker. This is why you may have to take this. Given this.
Yeah.
So just going through that, I felt like, if I could do this,
this is what makes me alive.
This is what makes me alive.
Yeah.
And so one day I was speaking at a homeless shelter, and the day that changed my life, it showed me that I don't want to be in the hospital. I need to be doing this. I met my business partner.
Okay.
He just got out of jail. He was like, I've been hearing about you. Can I speak? And I looked at him, and I was 2 days before, I was like, I need something different, man. And later on, I'm going to tell you, like that's the second time like I knew it was different. The first time was when I was like, I had suicidal ideations. Like I would want to get up out of here.
Yeah.
Because like everything was going. But I come back to that.
Yeah.
And so like that time, it was like, I looked at him like, damn, shit, let's go. He spoke. I said, that's the X factor. This is how I'm going to change the world. That is it. Because like his passion about like, because when you see him, you thought he was going to be on some crazy shit. Like
tell the listeners more about that. So
like he's a big dude.
Okay.
Like tats everywhere.
Okay.
Tat on his face. He comes up to me. I'm in my white coat, and we just, and he's like, we had never talked. But I felt like I just met my brother. And so I'm like, Yeah, let's go. And he was talking about like resilience and his time incarcerated and the love he has for his community. And I got to do better. And I felt like I was about to cry. I felt like, where the fuck have you been?
Yeah.
And he said, yo, I'll do whatever. Or do you need a bodyguard? I said, no. I can do my own work.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about, let's start a business?
Yeah.
He said, you bullshit. You know who I am? I said, I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
There's never been an activist, like the activism that we can do, it looks different. Because we are, like you have activists like Barack Obama is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
King, great. Malcolm, great. But they don't resemble the community they come from. They're suit and tie and they love it. But that's them. We go in there with hoodies, gun on hip, like tatted up, looking crazy. Now they're like, oh, I can do it too. I can live a different life. I can talk about love. I can talk about hope, and I don't have to change who I am.
Yeah.
That's power.
Yeah. This is what I've often said about school-based, and we'll get into this in our second episode together. But when you talk about school-based, like drug and alcohol awareness programs, right?
Yes.
You often have people in there who students are like, has this person ever smoked pot in their life? Like, they ever do any drugs? Like, they ever drink a drink ever? You know?
Yeah.
And I think about that often from my own school experience, but then in previous schools that I've worked at, the safe people to partner with in those spaces are people that look like me, right? That are white, that are, grew up like sort of like most of the people in the school community, and we represent like safe options. But kids and communities see through those safe options. They see when someone is bringing that authenticity to the table. Like, this is my actual life experience. The reason why you should listen to me is because, I grew up like this, or I had this experience, or what have you.
Yeah.
And that level of credibility, like you said, when you met him and y'all started working together, it was like a whole other level of possibility.
Man, it's amazing.
Yeah.
To meet somebody, I'm blessed to know a man that I'm in business with that I would die for. It's bigger than business. It's bigger than us. It's like, this is a culture. This is a DNA. This is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so like when you have a company that's your lifestyle versus a dollar amount, now at first you're struggling, but when that switch hits, you become a millionaire, billionaire overnight, because most billionaires have embodied their business, if that makes sense. Right? When you think about Steve Jobs, he was Apple.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So like when they tried to fire him from Apple, they quickly saw that you can't.
Yeah. Right, that story goes right, didn't he? He gets fired, he leaves, and then Apple's sinking, right?
Yeah.
They call him up, come on back, and then what does he produce? The first thing, like, dramatically changes the computing world.
That's it.
Forever.
That's it.
And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
So you meet your business partner in the speaking engagement. Y'all are, have been doing work ever since then. But were you still in medical school then?
Yeah. So like it was getting really inconvenient
to be in medical school.
And that's when it's like, yo, this is like, who would be in med school and be like, this is pain in the ass to do it.
Yeah. Zero people, basically. Yeah.
And so I was like, damn. And so I was like battling because I don't want to seem like, yo, F medicine. I don't care about that. Because medicine saved my life.
Sure.
It literally
saved your life.
It took a man that was probably headed to death because of like depression, like losing my family, making a decision not to be my son's life because I felt like, hold on, I'm not going to be pushed into that and like guilt tripped into a situation when I know what it is to be in poverty. So if my son is safe, maybe I won't be in his life right now to be in his life for real with options in the future.
Yeah.
That's a hard decision to make.
Yeah.
And not to be, in the Caribbean culture, family is everything. And so to not have my family as much as I would while going through med school as the first generation medical student,
yeah,
that's another thing. So I'm like, I started to fail. And so now we can backtrack to the story of the other time. Like, everything was going bad for a second in med school. Failing out, not being in my son's life, not being in my family's life like I wanted to. I was like, yo, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'll just say to listeners, the story that Doc is about to share has some suicidal ideations with it. We've talked about this story, but if you need to fast forward through this part of the episode, feel free to hit that forward 30-second button a few times so you don't hear it. But go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
Everything was going bad. I couldn't just. I didn't care. I wasn't going to class like I wanted to. I was skipping. Just sleeping all day, not passing like practicums and things of that nature, and I had enough. So one night I had my last meal, had my gun in the passenger seat. I said, "This is it, man. Like, why am I here?"
Yeah.
I prayed, and I said, God, if you wake me up in the morning, if I make it through the night, I'll do it.
Okay.
And so I sat there, and if anyone who knows me know I wear slogans a lot. Right? And so I was just sitting there, and I said it. If I make it through the night, like I made 3 slogans, then I was going to like kill myself.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Literally. First one being neighborhood hope dealer. I said, damn, that's crazy. Right? And then I had educated goon. And then I had death before mediocrity. Those are my 3. Like, so when people wear that, they don't understand. Like, I see it, and it almost brings tears to my eyes. Like, oh shit.
Yeah. And I'll say to listeners that Doc has a clothing line that we'll link for in the show notes that you can check out. And you can also check out some of his stuff on his Instagram, R&R Vision, that features a bunch of his slogans that he's talking about right now. And you see students here at Eagle Rock walking around in that stuff. Yeah, it's amazing. But so you come up with these slogans, you're sitting there in your car, and...
Yeah, so after that, like, before I came with the slogans, but then I'm sitting there just looking at it, and, like, when I show my business, it's so much that has gone through this time. So that night was, like, the last of the slogans. I had made the slogans before that night,
I got you, okay.
So when I show our partner, we were, like, going crazy, like, yo, this shit would sell. It was amazing, but I was depressed, and so... I just fell asleep. Knocked out. I don't know what happened.
Which, we've known each other for a minute. That's unusual.
Very. Very unusual. Yeah. And then, so the sun wakes me up. And I start laughing like, oh, shit. I can't kill myself now. Right? So I put, like, I'm stink. I ain't take a shower in 2-3 days. Put my white coat on, laced up my Jordans, went into the hospital. Yo, everything was like music then. Medicine everything just start hitting. I go into a room, bam, 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 order this test. Everything was like, I felt like a savant. It was weird. Like a patient will come to me and say something like, hey, doc, the right side, okay, cool. That's what happened right there. Hey, doc, I have it. Oh, no, that's what it is right there. But let me talk to you. Like, it just felt, everything was meshing. And so grades started getting better. And I was like, damn, I could do this. But I felt like I didn't want to be in the hospital. But I loved it, though.
Sure.
And so then fast forward to me meeting my business partner. And so, like, that's why, like, I was talking in hospitals. I mean, not talking in, like, homeless shelters and stuff. After that, and everything was clicking. Like, I loved it. Like, coming up on and just meeting people. Because, like, if anyone has seen me speak, it's not like a lecture. It's, like, interactive. Like, how do you feel about this? What do you think?
Wait.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
actually give responses.
I'm in the crowd, and so it's like, I love that because I don't want to be lectured to. I want to know my audience, and so, like, I may come out and some Jay-Z, like, make it a real show because I want you to feel what I'm talking about. And so when I met him, like I said before, it changed my life. And being in a hospital would be my form of incarceration because my people are outside, are in the street dying. And I have an obligation now. When I say my people, not just black folk, because now that I've been doing this activism for a minute, I quickly have seen that my people has got to just branch out to everyone that is marginalized. That is feeling as though they're not given their due, you know? And so white, black, green, yellow, like we are here together. And the only way for true freedom is to make sure that I elevate all. And so now,
we're not living in a zero-sum game, right?
No.
That's the end goal is for all of us to reach happiness, reach fulfillment, whatever. To rid the world of oppression is to rid the world of oppression, not just for blank person or blank person. It's to rid the world of oppression, period, across the board,
100%.
for everybody. Once oppression exists, it doesn't stop existing unless it's eradicated, right? Now, whether we can eradicate oppression is like a different maybe topic for conversation, but I appreciate your like stance on helping people means more than just helping one person.
It can't be
one group of people.
It can't be.
That's right.
Malcolm X like showed perfectly how it couldn't be, because when he was just like, oh, fuck white people, like there was no progression.
That's right.
Until he embraced the fact that we all got to be elevated, black people could never be.
And you
elevated.
saw that in the progression of his life
Every time.
You know, you saw that, and as soon as he all of a sudden started elevating the plight of multiple peoples, right? Then what happens? Then he's killed.
Yep.
Interesting how that works out.
Yeah. And so, like, questions always given to me. Are you willing to die for this? Yes. Not even a question. There's never a time when I'm there's nothing to think about.
Yeah.
You know, because if I'm not supposed to be here anyway, and so like if I'm here and there's something to die for, why not liberation? Like that, there's nothing more important than that.
Yeah. So I love all of that. I hope, listeners, that you are enjoying this story as much as I am. I want to focus in on one maybe character in the plot of your story that we haven't touched on much, and that's the city of Atlanta. So you rep Atlanta hard. And as a person who grew up in and around Detroit, I rep Detroit pretty significantly as well.
Like
and Detroit and Atlanta actually share quite a bit in common.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, I know many people who live in Detroit have many relatives who live in Atlanta, and similar. Many people who live in Atlanta have relatives in Detroit. You know, and so, but as a character in your story here, you rep Atlanta, and you have been working closely with Atlanta populations of various kinds, types, whatever, for many years. And I wonder, like, what's your experience growing up in Atlanta? I shouldn't say Atlanta. I should say Atlanta. Like, what your experiences growing up in Atlanta kind of allowed you to see about the world, and then what has continued to kind of push you to give back to that community in particular?
I mean, it's simple. I come from there. I know it. And every hood's the same, you know, and so like I'm going to be always like Atlanta made me who I am, you know, and also there's so much pain in my community. And I feel as though whenever you talk about a place, it's like whenever a rapper talks about a place or whenever a musician talks about a place, it's coming from like that, you know? There's never been a time when a doctor says, yo, I'm from Atlanta and I want to do healthcare. I want to eradicate poverty. Yeah. But then I'm repping my hood. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, so like me and my partner say all the time, like, I want to be the NWA of activism.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And so like speaking truth to power and doing it from there. And two, like, I love the fact that it looks so different. You know, I love the culture in Atlanta is a big, small city. You know, and so like everybody knows everybody, but it's a city.
Yeah,
it's not country. Yeah.
Right.
And and when I branch out, you know, like it's just like Outkast put Atlanta on the map for hip hop. Like Martin Luther King put Atlanta on the map for activism too, you know, and so just like a lot of activists either from Atlanta or came through Atlanta or did something in Atlanta. I just want to be another one in that line to make it so that, you know, Atlanta got something to say. Just like in the words of Outkast, like, yo, we got something to say. The South got something to say. Yeah.
What's it been like for you living in Estes Park, this small town, right? For listeners out there, you may know Eagle Rock is located in a town of 6,500. Estes Park is in the middle of the mountains. It's like sort of quasi-rural. You know, you're about 45 minutes-ish from Boulder, 45 minutes-ish from Fort Collins, about an hour and a half from Denver. So it's not as rural as some other places, right?
Yeah.
But it would definitely be a small town.
Yeah.
And I know one of the biggest challenges students have coming to Eagle Rock is that they're not in their hometown.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest challenges staff members have, certainly coming to Eagle Rock, and is we've been in the midst of some hiring recently. That's been a major question.
Yeah.
Particularly as people of color that we've been talking to. How do you make that transition to this small town away from your, larger cities of Atlanta, or maybe if you're from Philly, maybe you're from New York, maybe you're from Durham, like wherever you might be. So what's that been like for you being here and being away from home?
It's a means to an end. You know, it's like the lifestyle that I want now is to be one of traveling. But before you get there, sometimes you have to have a foundation. So it's a great place to think, to work, to learn, to read, to be away from the comforts of knowing there's life going out there. I mean, it's not bad. You know, it's like it's clean air. You know, you can really exercise and grow. Denver's right there. But if you're asking, do I miss home? Of course.
Sure.
But when you know you're fighting for something bigger than you, you'll take, like sometimes jail is great for some people because when they come out, they had the time to really sit and think and create. And Estes is not jail. I'm not equating it to like in prison, like being incarcerated. However, when you're not around your surroundings, sometimes you feel isolated, you feel alone. But it's the best place. It's the best place for me to create, to have great ideas, And so I feel blessed to be in a position to have to be here and to be able to create, so that when I do reemerge in Atlanta or anywhere else in the country, I've had time to really think about next steps.
Yeah, and I think maybe a plug for Eagle Rock there is that like the school does a good job of respecting their employees like side hustles. And in fact I would argue like does some encouraging of employee side hustles, which is awesome. So we got a little snapshot of what Atlanta means to you, how that space still occupies an important part in your life. We got a little snapshot of you up through medical school. But what is it like being essentially a teacher now? Because that's what you're doing here at Eagle Rock. You're working with young people to help them form themselves, right?
Man, blessed. I even take it for being a teacher is one thing, but being an educator is something different.
Sure.
Like it transcends just a teacher. Like when you're a teacher, you should work hard to be an educator. Because I think when you educate, you really liberate. You save lives.
Yeah.
And so like to be here is just an extension of a doctor for me. So when I have the blessing to be around someone in their most vulnerable moments, and as a student who, I'm not anything special. It's just that I was, whether you believe in a higher power, God, like this is my time. And so I gotta show up. And so as an educator, I gotta spark something every time. I gotta figure out a way to reach you. Whether it's cussing you out, whether it's laughing, whether it's sometimes just a meal. Like it's creative. And that's different for me in my mind from a teacher versus an educator.
Sure,
like a teacher would just Yeah, have a syllabus, go by syllabus, have a nice day. If you get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. That's a teacher. An educator, though, digs deep. They figure out the why. And that's a doctor. We got to figure out why.
Yeah.
The educator, to me, like a scientist, is another form of a scientist.
Sure.
You know, and so like it's not a hard transition for me, but people look at me like, why the hell are you here?
Yeah.
Like on paper,
yeah.
like there's no qualifications I have
Right.
to be, you know. However,
I guess, but unless you articulate it just like you did, right, which is at its core, being a doctor is about liberation too.
Yes.
Liberation.
A good doctor. There's a doctor, then a good doctor. Good doctor. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, it's about liberation too, and being an educator is truly about at 100%. Its core liberation. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because education is just another system that has been used to suppress and oppress individuals and marginalize groups of people.
Right.
And so I use healthcare as just a way in to address all of the systems. You know, and so like I've been blessed to get a medical degree, but that's not important to me. What's important to me? So if you ask me, if you meet me, I'm not gonna ever say, "Hey, I'm Dr. Russell." I'm Courtney, man. What do you do? I'm a social entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like I'm a civil activist. You probably would have to dig more to find that I'm a doctor versus like I didn't tell people I was a doctor here.
Yeah.
They found it and start calling me doc. I don't. You know what I mean? I never once say.
You mean you didn't just show up and be like, "Hey, I'm doc"?
No. Heck no. Because I feel like it transcends that I want to be bigger than medicine.
Yeah.
It's limiting to me. You know, oh, you're a doctor, great. That's cool. Now, if you tell me, oh, you're a social activist, I feel pride about that.
Yeah.
Like you're an activist, you're a social entrepreneur, because a social entrepreneur addresses social injustices.
That's right.
And makes money doing it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what I love.
Yeah.
That's that hustle. Like, oh, we can make money at this? Oh, man.
And help other people.
That's it.
Yeah, this is like what we were talking about just before we started our recording, was about how when you earn a doctorate, it can be really limiting. You know, they, and you sometimes too, right? Your personal mindset can push you into a space that says like, here's the thing you're doing and this is it.
Yeah.
You know,
like
you need to work in a hospital, wear a white coat every day, whatever, because you have an MD and that's what you did.
See?
You know,
yes.
You earn your EDD like me and you go and you do these things in schools because that's what you do.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
And how can someone tell you what you do?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Don't worry about anything else you're good at. Because what if you became a doctor, but you're a horrible doctor, but you could sing, and you start singing like, no. You have an MD, you have an EDD, you're a PharmD, forget all of that other stuff. Yeah. You cannot sing. All I want you to do is what you have a degree in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Go work at a pharmacy. Yeah.
And now you are with a doctorate, you're miserable.
Yeah.
You're enslaved to your own education.
Yeah, and isn't the point of pursuing a doctorate to liberate, right?
See?
Yeah. I think about it often in my role as college and career counselor, right? I'm good at what I do. Similar to what you are as a doctor. You're a good doctor. But is college and career counseling really how I want to be helping young people? You know, and I ask myself that question frequently. And I think right now, I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now, helping young people, doing this work right now.
Yeah.
And do I want to do that forever? Yeah, no, I definitely don't.
Yeah.
And figuring out, though, the path in order to get me to a place where I feel like I'm able to help people, not just young people, because similar to you, I have this internal mission to, upend injustice, rid the world of as much oppression as I can in the time that I'm here. To do this work that helps people liberate themselves out of whatever situation they're in, and move into something that feels more authentic in their life, that feels like they're living in a resonance that is true to who they are and who they want to be. That's really where I want to go, and getting a doctorate, it's hard to say that it limits you, because it doesn't, right? But it does.
See, just like how capitalism today,
Uh-huh.
with how we live it and experience it right now, is effed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying not to cuss as much.
Yeah. You're good.
See,
You're
like,
good. You're good.
It's not. But capitalism in its face, if everyone had a level playing field, I love. Because I love the competitive. Like, if my product is superior to your product, I should make more money than you.
Sure.
Like that's like the drive. However, capitalism says today you have to be poor so I can be rich.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So
the existence of the system as it is
exactly.
right now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to live in a world where I'm rich and you're rich.
Yeah.
You're rich, so we're all around the table making decisions, because my level of success and my vision of success may be different from a person that works the fields.
Sure.
But why can't the person that works the fields be wealthy too?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they can be passionate about having their hands in the dirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because they do that in our country today, they are struggling to survive. They're struggling for healthcare.
Yeah.
They have to do certain, like, it's not okay.
Yeah.
Right? And so just like education on its face should be liberation. It should be liberatory.
That's
it should
right.
be like a certain, once you teach a child or a man or a woman to do certain things, let's go. You can everything is at your disposal.
Yeah.
But that's not how education is.
No.
There are money, where you live, like where you're from, who your parents are. It has nothing to do with what education is.
Mm-hmm. But yet our system is so much made up of all of those things. Yeah, and that's why I think we've argued on this podcast for 47 previous episodes why so much of what exists in schools and in education is busted.
100%.
Yeah.
Like when we look back at slavery, it was a crime to read.
That's right. Yeah.
People don't understand how crazy that was.
Mm-hmm.
You could get lynched for reading a book. Steve,
I'm like, that happened. And
Chris Rock, I think, had a little skit. Like, it was a slave, and there was a stop sign, and the guy was like, "Oh, should I stop? I can read it. It says stop, but if I do it, slave masters are gonna kill me."
No.
And you know Chris Rock is, but it's true though.
Yeah.
Like, you got to make a choice. Do I die and show the master that I know how to read, or do I just die because I act like I don't know how to read?
Yeah.
That's how education is right there.
Yeah.
So do I stay and be a doctor, be miserable, and die, and knowing that healthcare is racist,
Right.
but I have a degree so I can take care of my family, but I'm dying inside? Or do I die by making a choice to leave mess on the side and struggle and risk being broke for a minute and figuring it out in order to bring liberation? That's the choice you have to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what's interesting about that is that's the true entrepreneur dilemma right there.
It is.
Right? Is you get at a point in your life where what's the risk? And how do you weigh that risk? And how do you take that next step? You know? And so for you, you've turned that into a couple ventures. We're getting to the end of our first recording, and I want all of our listeners to come back. Hope you love this one. We want you to enjoy this one and come back for our next episode. We're going to continue this conversation with Doc about schools, but I want to just give a shout out to some of the things that you're up to right now. So give us a little 30-second version of the We Up community-based organization, or We Up CBO.
Yeah.
What's that going on?
We Up CBO is our parent company.
Okay.
I wanted to, and David wanted to create a company that has its hands in everything that has been oppressive to people of color. And so the fundamental company is our public speaking company with our DBA, which is Mastermind Society.
Okay.
And so we go into the schools, we have our own curriculum that we've created, and we educate on resilience, entrepreneurship, mindset, and things of that nature, and love it, because we like, you know what, we have to have a fundamental.
Yeah.
We have to have a first, like, what's that? Then we have a clothing line called Lord of Threads.
Yeah.
You know, love it. It's amazing. You know, and so those are the main two ones that right now that we're pushing. And as we grow, we're going to add on things so that we can have our hands in our community. So as we uplift and empower, we use entrepreneurship so that we can become wealthy while we're empowering other individuals in our community to become wealthy as well.
Cool. Okay, so We Up CBO, you can find that at weup.org or
weup.org.
Weup.org. Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll put a link for that in our show notes. Then you've got A2H2.
Yes.
Talk about that for a little bit.
Man, that's my nonprofit organization that really addresses the need of subpar, often non-existent healthcare for marginalized communities.
Okay.
That's one tier. And then we also speak on the parallel between healthcare and poverty. Because a lot of times, if I say, take this medication, but you don't know why you're taking the medication, you're not empowered. Mm-hmm. You know, and so like, even before I even deliver the mobile unit and deliver the care, I'm speaking in the community about certain diseases, high blood pressure, breast disease, a lot of OBGYN cases, because as doctors, we just throw around terms to our patient, and because we get the respect, patients just take it by face value. A doctor said, take these medications, not knowing why they're taking it. And healthcare has been such a area of exploitation for people of color. I feel really blessed to know it and able to articulate it in such a way where it's not as scary, you know, for people of color to want to go to the doctor for preventative services. And so that's A2H2 is just, I want to be a nationwide provider for at-risk communities for healthcare, make it a mobile so I can come to you and take out the barrier of you finding or coming to a brick and mortar. You know, so I want to have brick and mortar clinics, but however, I want it to be like an ambulance. However, it goes out to the community and stays there and delivers the services to like the elderly or other individuals who may have problems, or in rural areas who may have problems getting quality, consistent healthcare.
I love it. There's a little shout out in there. A2H2 stands for what?
Atlanta Awareness for Homeless Health.
Right. Had to get that in there. Okay, so you got We Up CBO, which has a bunch of other things underneath that. You've got A2H2, and then one of the reasons why I'm super glad you're on this podcast, you got a podcast of your own, and that's been beautiful for me to listen to and listen to that thing unfold. I'm an OG subscriber way back from episode 1.
Wow!
And so I had to get in on the ground level, but it's called the Humanized Podcast, and that's with Emily Brocker. Emily's a similar social activist. She's down in Boulder. But you all couldn't have more different life experiences. And when I listen to those episodes, sometimes I just some of the interactions make me laugh so hard because y'all bring this just willingness to learn to every episode. You know, these conversations go in such deep and intense directions, and I just want to give you 30 seconds to plug Humanize. What do you want to say about it?
Man, that podcast has given me a platform that, obviously we had a platform, Dave and I had a platform, but it's different because now you can hear us speak on topics of race and culture, and it comes from, like you said, two opposite people with not differing views, but different ways of articulating the same thing. You know, we were addressing white supremacy, and I'm a lot more in your face and not, I wouldn't say radical, because she's big too, you know, but I'm more like, I'm a lot for some people. And she is more palatable for some people, you know, and that's a great mix. And for the optics, I always want to create a type of environment where everyone feels comfortable to talk, you know. And as we build the podcast, I want to start facilitating DEI groups because I feel like individuals, they want to do the work, but they don't have an entry point.
Yeah, that's right.
And the Humanized Podcast, to me, is a great entry point because it's like, damn, I wanted to say that. But she said that, if you're white. Oh, I want to say it, but damn, Courtney said that in a way that I didn't even think you could say that. You know, and so it's a blessing. And it's surprising because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
Like, and I don't think I'm an expert in any kind of way on DEI work and this and that. Sure. I just think what makes you an expert is failures.
Yeah, get into it, make a mess.
Yeah,
see what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah,
because education doesn't make you expert. I think lived experience makes you more of an expert than anything.
Yeah,
and I think with we're coming up on our 4th season.
It's crazy.
Coming soon, you know, and it's like. That's
and the
crazy.
guests just keep getting better and better. And
terrifying.
Better. Yeah.
Terrifying.
So, listeners, if y'all are out there, check out the Humanized podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I can't recommend it enough. Listen, Courtney, we've been having this conversation for a minute.
Yeah.
We need to take a break. Can we come back into our next episode?
Let's do
Talk about schools.
Let's do it.
Listeners, thanks for being here with us. And as always, keep rethinking EDU. Thanks.